Alright, so we're going to do part 2 of the Incredible Hulk Heroclix previews. Here we have Kyra or Caiera, depending on how you want to pronounce that name, but we're not going to worry about it too much here. Number 39 in the set. It is a super rare, so I'm already noticing that this set has lower numbers for like super rares. Like super rares tend to start at like 49 in other sets. Now this is a super rare at 39, so that's very interesting, and I'm looking to see what is in the set. Based on that, is it going to be a smaller set, only like 50 figures, or 45 or 50 figures with chase figures, when we tend to get 60 figures plus chase figures, or 55 figures with chase figures. So this is pretty interesting, but this figure looks amazing. She went toe-to-toe with the Hulk and survived. Also was the queen with the Incredible Hulk she was the Hulk's queen for Incredible Hulks when he was on Planet of the Hulks and all that kind of story a couple years back. But this is definitely an awesome figure. Hulk and her had Scar. That's another figure that I reviewed earlier, and let's get into it. She has a trait. At the beginning of the game, choose a friendly character. When that character is adjacent to her, that character's defense becomes 18. So this is where Scar becomes very beneficial, because if they're based together, his low defenses become 18s. And now I understand why he is the way he is, because this figure based with him are tremendously overpowering, and it's going to be disgusting. Pairing her with Scar, they're going to be a little over 200 points, but they're going to be a little bit below 250, but they're both going to be just disgusting. And she has another special power for an attack. She can use Blades, Claws, Fangs, and Super Strength. When she uses Blades, Claws, and Fangs while holding an object, add +1 to the D6 roll and remove the object. So this is amazing. She has Charge. You use the Blades, Claws with the object, you roll it, and say you roll a 3. Well, now with the object, it's going to be a 4. Normally when you use an object, you know, depending on if it's a heavy object, does not say at all it has to be a heavy object or a light object. Light object does +1, heavy does +2. This says any object, you add 1 to the D6. So you get the benefit of both. You could roll a 4, which would be an increase to the 3 damage, and then you get +1 to the object. So that's really good. Or if you're lucky and roll a 6, guess what? Now it's a 7. So she has potential out there to be really, really disgusting. Impervious, 3 clicks of that, 4 clicks of invulnerability. Her defenses are kind of low after her first click, 16s and then 15s, but damage reducers throughout, high attacks, and high damage output. Even when she only has 2 damage, she has Perplex or Close Combat Expert. She has 3 range and Indomitable, so she'll be able to push. I like this figure a lot. She's definitely going to be what you think of her. She's going to be able to take a beating and dish out a beating and be able to do a lot of damage. And she even has some Steel Energy late dial to actually heal back up. I love this figure, and I love this figure because of her trait too. It doesn't have to be Scar, but any figure you choose at the beginning of the game to be friendly has an 18 defense. So you're going to want to choose someone that probably has a lower defense, because you'll bump it up and make them even more nastier. Very awesome figure. Going to be looking to get this one for sure. Alright, so here we have Humanoid, number 5 in the set, which is going to be a common, so it's going to be pretty easy to get. 0 range and 40 points. So what are we going to get? Well, you're going to get really a minion figure, because that's what the damage power here. When a friendly character named the leader or leader is within 8 squares of the humanoid, he can use Shape Change or Willpower, or it's a kind of an it, more or less. Keywords of Intergalactic and Robot. So we're going to get, another robot keyword, but the main thing here is pairing this figure up with the leader, which is one of my favorite figures, and it's going to be the next figure I'm going to review. But look what you got. You have plasticity to tie figures up. You got super strength to be able to dish out heavier damage, toughness, all the stats are going to be mediocre. 16 is kind of blah, but the 9 attack is okay. 2 damage is kind of, you know, you're not going to be able to do much, but with the super strength, you're potentially be able to do 4 damage with a heavy object. I like this. In late dial, you have poison to catch someone off guard, but this set's going to have a ton of damage reducers, so I'm gonna say that's probably not going to come into effect, but I know there's going to be figures in here that are not going to have damage reducers, so you might be able to catch someone off, but you're not going to be able to poison Hulk unless you're able to outwit his defense. In late dial, we have regeneration. That's going to be key because the leader in this set, which is the next figure, he has Mastermind. So this figure is going to be a key figure for leader or any other figures that have Mastermind, because you can give them a couple clicks of damage and then they have the potential to heal back up to make that 40 points last way longer. So that's really good. And the damage, you know, the attack for a 40-point figure is actually not bad. 3 9s, 1 8, and at the late dial we have Close Combat Expert, which will be able to do 3 damage. And you might be able to hit someone with that. And then, so I like this figure, and the willpower doesn't hurt to be able to keep on going. And the shape change, you know, you roll that shape change, they can't, you know, they're stuck right there. You can't damage him. So that's really good. I like this figure, but it's going to be more situational. You're probably going to field them to, you know, put a little points in there, and you don't get the benefit of shape change or willpower unless you're next to the leader within 8 squares. So that's key. They're going to have to be paired up to make this figure really worth your while, but you still be able to get some benefits out of them if you don't have that figure on the board for you. But, you know, it's not too bad. For 40 points, might fill out your team pretty well and sealed. Okay, so here we have the leader, Intergalactica, Scientist, 14 in the set, so it's a common. We're going to be able to pull this figure pretty easily. 100 points, 7 range, no Indomitable, but he does have a trait. When a friendly character whose name includes Humanoid, like I talked about earlier, is KO'd, you may roll a d6 that can't be re-rolled. On a 5 or a 6, place that character with the same name and point value on click 2 in your starting area. So this is what I'm talking about. You're going to want to play the Humanoids with the leader. He is only 100 points. The Humanoids are 40 points, so you're able to play 5 Humanoids if you're lucky enough to pull that many for 300 points, and you have this really nasty Mastermind, be able to Mastermind off. You will have to have them next to the leader to be able to Mastermind the damage off, but the leader has a lot going for him. Originally, when this figure came out a couple sets back, I loved him because he had all the powers that I really love. I love Mastermind if you're able to throw it off, and I'll go into a little mini review of that figure to show you why I liked him so much. But this is what I'm going to do with this guy. He's got Stealth, TK, which is crazy. I like TK. I would have liked to see Psychic Blast, but TK is a nice change. 16 defense, not very high, but when you have Stealth and Mastermind, it's gonna, I mean, the defense is gonna be really low unless you're playing against Superman figures. But in this set, there probably aren't gonna be any figures that can see through Stealth on a regular basis. But anyways, so then you have your damage special power. The leader can use Outwit once per turn. If he uses it to counter a power or ability that isn't a defensive power, he can immediately use it again to counter another power if it's not a defense power. So if you do not outwit a defense power, you can use Outwit 2 times with him. This is insane. Let me tell you that is just insane, because if you have another figure that has Outwit, you can outwit defenses with that, and this guy can outwit 2 powers. So even if you don't, you can still use Outwit to outwit a defense power, but you just won't be able to do it again. So the potential with this guy is amazing. Short dial, only 6 clicks, but what you're going to get is someone that's going to be able to perch up in hindering terrain, shoot for 7 range with a 10 attacks, which is really good, and be able to outwit people. I like this figure quite a bit. For 100 points, it's very useful. I don't know if it's better than the last version, but for 100 points, I like him a lot. playing with humanoids will definitely make this figure very interesting. Late dial, energy shield deflection because he loses stealth to get him that bump, but he has outwit, and he has pulse wave if you come in, you know, with a chance there. But, you know, it's going to be very interesting with this guy. I like him quite a bit with the double outwit, and then the humanoid. If you play him with the humanoids, you get that, being able to regenerate them back. So that's really good. I would assume, though, if your opponent KOs a humanoid, they get the points, but you get to, if you do roll your 5 or 6, you get to bring them back. And I'm gonna assume again, I don't know if this is good, but if you were to kill that figure again, they probably would get those points again. But I'm not 100% on that. But the fact that you can bring him back is always good, because it'll be a chance for him to have continuous mastermind fodder. And because he's stealth, you're not going to be able to see any of his powers to outwit him. And the fact that he is able to outwit 2 powers if he doesn't outwit a defense power will keep him ahead of the curve. He can outwit your outwit and then outwit another power. So it's really good, but he might not even need to outwit your outwit, because even if you're base to him and he's in stealth, you can't outwit him. So very nice figure, like the powers that he has quite a bit. For 100 points, really good. So here's the leader from Mutations and Monsters that I really, really like, because the powers that this figure has are just crazy. So he has 8 range, 116 points, so this figure is a little bit more points, but if you see the sculpt, he has humanoids with him, so that's kind of the whole deal here, to be able to pawn off the damage. He's got Mind Control, Psychic Blast, which he has, the new one will have TK, and will have stealth. He does have, the new one will have Mind Control, but later in his dial. And the defense power here that I really like, Mastermind and Toughness, and the ability to Mastermind from 4 squares away. So that's really big, and he has outwit and probability. So the thing that I really liked with this figure was the ability to Psychic Blast a character and not use outwit on defense, and then the ability to probability my attack roll. I really love that, and if they wanted to attack me, guess what? I was able to mastermind the damage off. Was able to win a lot of matches with this figure just because of the mastermind and the outwit and probability. I mean, just those powers together, let me tell you, work really well. And I thought this figure had stealth, but looking at it, it doesn't have stealth. So that even makes the new one potentially even better, because he has stealth, and you're not going to be able to even see these powers to outwit them anyways. And this is a wild card, Minions of Doom, so that makes that really well. I like this figure quite a bit, but the new one looks to be a nice change, and potentially even better because it's 16 points cheaper. So I like it quite a bit.